Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the Investigamer, and if you have ever taken a look at my channel in the past, you probably know that I am enamored with everything horror-related. My first love was Evil Dead, my first nightmare was on Elm Street, and my first passion was Event Horizon. But strangely enough, I didn't get into horror video games until I was 16, 17 years old. Then one day I came across an old copy of Silent Hill for the PlayStation 1 in my local retro gaming shop. After playing it for a solid 6 hours, I was fucking hooked. Horror games bring my two greatest passions together. But if you have ever tried getting into horror gaming, you know that it is easily the most unappreciated, mistreated, and unrespected gaming genre out there. I mean, on Steam, it doesn't even make the list on the front page. Not only that, but for every good horror game you find, there are at least 3 shitty ones accompanying it. Games with poor mechanics, no personality, no understanding of what horror truly means. And I know this must drive so many people away from the horror genre every single year, instead choosing to watch movies on Halloween instead of a good old-fashioned video game. But not this year, because if you've ever wanted to join the ranks of horror gaming, now is the perfect opportunity. Today, I'm highlighting 5 games that I believe are certifiably wicked and worth your time this Halloween. Prepare to be dragged kicking and screaming into the October spirit, because you're in my kingdom now. I'm gonna start this list off with easier games that are more generous to those of you who are just getting into horror games, and then we'll work our way up to the more challenging titles, and the psychologically compelling ones that kind of break outside the gaming norm. My first choice is completely uncontroversial, and I'm sure many of you have already heard of it. Of course, I wasn't going to create a list of horror games without including Dead Space, and it is a great place to start for anyone who has never played a horror game before. The controls are simple, it's laughably easy on the lowest difficulty, and it has some great visual scares. It's not intellectually compelling, but these deformed, bloodied up humanoids speak for themselves. The monster designs are almost without equal. They're just so immediately frightening at first glance. Dead Space also employs a surprising amount of strategy for a horror game. Some weapons are better against one monster than another, and almost everything is upgradable, meaning you'll have to pick and choose what you're going to upgrade and consequently how you're going to play the game. In short, the mechanics work pretty damn well and they're pretty damn fleshed out. No pun intended. Dead Space runs flawlessly on the PC, goes for only $20 on Steam, and has 2 sequels out should you become interested. I highly recommend it as the first stop to discovering the horror frontier in video games. On to our next choice. I know. Believe me, I know. Aliens Colonial Marines was a completely disastrous pile of fucking garbage that isn't worth the plastic little disc it was shipped on. But last year we finally got an Alien game that captures the terrifying essence of the original Alien film. If you're in any way a fan of the Alien franchise, Alien Isolation will take your breath away. It's one of my favorite newer horror titles, and for good reason. The alien is amazingly true to the original film concept. The atmosphere is chilling and dense with tension, and the controls and overall gameplay are fairly easy to master. That being said, this game can get kinda difficult. I think I played it on the second lowest difficulty setting, and my first playthrough clocked in at around 24 hours, so it's a pretty long game, but I have to admit some of that was probably due to my own dying, and redying, and redying. But that is not criticism. I love when the alien just shows up and penetrates me from behind. I really should not have used that word. That's clear to me now. Definitely check out Alien Isolation on your quest to be spooked this Halloween season. And if you want to learn more about the game, I did do a full game review of Alien Isolation over on my channel that critiques it on its own merits. Check that out if you're interested. On to the next choice. Okay, I know that Outlast is considered trendy or whatever, and a lot of people dog on it for a number of reasons, but I honestly think that it is a great introduction into the newer sect of horror games where the player is disarmed and can't attack the monster hiding in the shadows. It's a very offhands approach that is very difficult to get right, and I think Outlast does a pretty good job. All you have in this game is a flashlight, a camera, and your own problem-solving abilities. You'll need to figure out puzzles, flip a few switches, and use hiding places to stay alive in this thrill ride. There's no shooting your way out of Outlast. Overall, I'd say the game looks great, has one hell of an atmosphere, and does employ psychological aspects on occasion, even similarly to what you'd expect from a game like Silent Hill. It's not an uber long game, maybe about 6 hours, but it's definitely solid for what it is. There's a good strong build-up, and a pretty much constant stream of scares after that. I honestly think that you'll like it, and it'll prepare you for a whole subgenre of indie games that have been popping up lately. And once again, if you just have to have more information about Outlast, I did do a review of that game as well on my channel, so head over there when you get the chance. I think that Darkwood is technically still in beta with the whole early access thing, but honestly it's pretty polished already, and I wanted to include something that was a little different from the games that I've already shown on the list. Darkwood is an open-world, procedurally generated survival horror game which is played from a top-down perspective, which is sometimes difficult to make scary. But where there's a will, there's a way. The sound design, atmosphere, and fog of war style vision mechanic work to the game's advantage in this regard. Not only is Darkwood full of replay value and brilliantly tuned survival aspects, but somehow it's pretty dang creepy. At the very least, it will disturb you, especially if you play the game with headphones. Christ alive. You will fear the nighttime like never before. But here's the downside. Darkwood is, it's pretty fucking challenging. It's a hard-ass game, I'm not gonna lie. I highly recommend looking up some game guides or maybe some online strategies or see if there's a Darkwood wiki, because even if you play the introduction, which you really should, they only go over the basics of how to play the game, and surviving long-term is a totally different fucking ballgame. If you don't adapt quickly and act quicker, Darkwood may just swallow you whole and spit your digested remains right back out. I gotta apologize in advance for this one, guys, because every time I talk about Soma, I am just compelled to kiss this game's ass. Once you've played a few horror games and developed a healthy thirst for something more psychological and overwhelming as a concept, as an idea, once you want something that will fuck you up in the mind, that's when I recommend Soma. Soma is brand spanking new at only about a month old. It comes from the very same devs behind Amnesia, which you may have heard of since, well, you're watching a video on YouTube. Anyways, there are a countless number of reasons why I think you will love this one. It's compelling as a story, it's beautiful from a design standpoint, and it leaves you, the player, to figure things out for yourself. It will have you asking at least a dozen unnerving questions that will leave an irremovable mark on your psyche. First of all, the setting is underwater. How many horror games can say that, huh? Secondly, it takes place after the extinction of the human race. Okay, a few games have done that, but in Soma you don't actually get to see the bloodbath flowing right in your face. No, they just tell you about it, reference it in some casual imagery, and then leave you alone to rot in the dark, with that realization lurking in the back of your mind. Soma is without any doubt my favorite horror title to come out this year, and it is an appropriate end to this list. Once you've prepared yourself with a good, decent background of horror gaming, Soma will send you on an inwardly reflecting and appropriately terrifying mental saga. I hope this video helped some of you find a decent horror game to play this Halloween. If you enjoy my work, why not check out one of my reviews on my channel? I've done Soma, Outlast, Alien Isolation, Dying Light, and much, much more. Thank you so much for joining me on this, the best month out of the year, this month of ecstasy, my favorite Halloween month, October. Take it easy, guys. Never trust the crowd, only the investigation.